First, I think you guys may have seen if you're signed up for the newsletter, we did put out the ability to buy some Shelterly swag. That's a fundraiser to help offset some of our server costs as an organization, but you can get a nice sweatshirt or I believe t-shirt. Here you go. As part of our campaign, and you can reach that. If Angie, will you post the link into the chat so people can check it out? So that's a great opportunity. We also want to call out if you did not receive that, you can sign up for our newsletter at shelterly.org/newsletter, and then you can get all of our updates. I think probably most of the people on this call are already doing that. And the last thing that I wanted to call out is on the CalCarts website, there's actually a quick reference library available as well. These are also available on the Shelter website, and they're always kept in sync. And these are great reference guides that you can use if you are trying to figure out how to use Shelterly as an organization, or in the heat of the moment. This is a great reference guide to just print out and set right next to you if you're doing one of those roles. Just it has kind of a breakdown of what all the icons mean, how the workflows should work in theory. It's a nice reference point. And those will always be available, like I said, on the CalCarts website, or they're also available on shelterly.org. Both places are awesome for finding those resources. All right, so we're going to hop into the new functionality. So we have 3 topics that we're going to be talking about this evening. The first one is that we have some new permissions changes. It's actually a pretty relatively large change, but a really important one. So I will show you. We have moved a lot of our organizational management functionality into this Manage Organization button. And so inside of that, we have the ability to manage our users. In here, I'm going to show you what setting up a new user looks like, and you'll notice something new, which are these big boxes down here. So historically, when you granted access to a new user, it would give them access to all of your incidents. Now, we don't do that anymore because now what you can do is you can actually turn it on in the same way. You would give them all training or all operational, but you can also specifically just give them access to one incident. So in this instance, this new Travis Skaggs, my alter ego, would be getting access just to this 2025 October webinar. It's a way to really make sure that we're not giving people over access, especially during mutual aid. Just like before, you could also select from existing users, adding them from a different organization or a different county, and again, just giving them access to the one incident that you want to give them to. So that's a nice improvement. You can also edit existing users. So here I'm creating a new one. And we can see I have Lisa here as somebody who's in our organization. You can also come in here and I could take away some of Lisa's access. I could give her back these 2, so on and so forth. And so you can edit existing. What we did with historical users, we used to have a flag called training only. So if that was set on a user, what we basically did is for those accounts, we turned on the all training flag, meaning they have access to all incidents that are with the training flag enabled, and left the all operational off. So you have exactly the same configuration for any of those users that you had already previously entered. So that's a great resource. Additionally, as part of that change, we've also changed our access tokens process. Excuse me. So you have the ability as a user admin to create sign-up links now. And so what you do here is you can create a sign-up link for a specific incident. And so in this case, I will set it up for this same webinar. You can set how long it is till that link expires, which is great. And then this URL you can pass out to people and they would be able to join your organization. As well as if you click here, it will actually open and give you a QR code that you can print out. And so once you go to that address, we have a new feature, which is really nice. So if you're going, I just copied and pasted that URL into a new window, so I'm not logged in anymore. If you already have an existing user account, you can just log in. But if somebody is using a sign-up code, what's really nice now is they can actually create a new account. And so here, it's his brother, Travis, excitingly. And they can actually now self-register, which is a new feature. And they would then do that. That creates an account, and that actually submits a request to the admins for access. So then we get a notice there saying user account created successfully and access request has been submitted. That will notify the admins that a request has come in. When I come back to this page and refresh, we now have a bunch of access requests, or just this one. And now this person doesn't have access to your incident yet. But once you click approve, that user has now self-registered. They've entered their information. And once you click approve, they will be given access to that specific incident. So I'll click approve. If I go back to manage users, now we'll see that we have both Travis and Travis, and they only have access to the 2025 October webinar. And so that is a really helpful tool for onboarding people. This has been a pretty manual process historically, where one of your user admins has to sit there and type in with them. Now you can actually send that QR code or that link to the team that's on their way, and they can self-register, but it does not give them access until you as an admin actually goes through and approves. So it does not impeach any of your security mechanisms, but it allows you to make sure that those all go to a queue and somebody can review them once they're ready. So that's a really powerful new feature that we've added. Yeah, I agree, John. That's a very exciting one. Another one that was added in the most recent release is pre-registration. And so we have completed phase 1 of the pre-registration process. And so what that really means is what I've done here is I've created an incident. I called it pre-registration. That's not really a secret sauce. That's not part of the process. But what I have here is we're going to act like this is an incident that happened last year. So this is the disaster that happened last year. And we have this service request. And we don't even really care what happened to it. But all we really want to do is we know this address. But we have the owner. It's Matt Matthews. They've got Berto and Frank the cat. And just keep that in mind as I show you the next screen. So I'm going to come back to my other screen. I'm going to go into my webinar. So I was in this pre-registration. Now I'm going into this webinar one. And if I go into hotline, I can say owner calling. And I'm going to type that address. And what you'll notice is we had this functionality before. It's use matching owner. So this owner has already had an animal registered with us, which is great. So I say I want to make that, I want to use that matching owner. And this button says make selection. So what it does next is it allows you to, okay, here's our owner and here's the animals that they have already have in the system. So you can reuse animals from previous incidents. And so you can see here, this comes with all the detail that I had actually typed previously into each of these animals. So I'm going to say, hey, are you bringing in both Berto? Do you want us to get Frank and Berto? Absolutely. Once you go next step, it already has his information entered because we already captured it. If you want to update anything, you can always turn on edit mode. That will allow you. But otherwise, you can go next step. And here's your animal information already pre-entered. And so we're able to reuse information from previous incidents, making data entry even faster. Again, you can also do edit mode. Any edits that you do will go back and change the next time you want to use this, but not touch any of your historical data, which is really important, especially when we start talking about number of animals. But again, edit mode will allow you to turn that on. Let's say that he says, oh, I also have a dog now because that was last year and we've gotten a dog. You finish reviewing. So here's Frank the cat. We're going to add another. And we'll add a dog here. Jeff, because I like just generic people names for animals. It's kind of fun. We'll make this male. It's an adult. Fixed. A little bit yes. All right. And then we'll go next step. So across the top, you can see we have one on contact updated, 2 animals updated, and 1 created. Verify our details at the end of our service request. Finish and create. And now we have created an instance of Berto. Again, once I click in, you'll see has a bunch of detail that I did not have to type because it all came in from the last incident, which is, again, a pretty powerful tool. As well as now Jeff has been added. And the next time we go to an incident, and so if I pop back out and I go down, I'm going to make a new training incident here. And I go into this one. If I go into, let's imagine this is now a 3rd disaster. If I go in here, you'll be able to see the same thing works, but now we have all three of his animals. So it continues to build over time, as well as all the information. I'm going to exit out of this time because I do want to show you guys this actually works on the shelter side as well. So intake from walk-in owner. And you have the exact same functionality on this side, allowing you to intake directly from that same bit of information. And this is, a different disaster. This is the third disaster with the same walkthroughs and information right there. So another really powerful feature. The next phase of this is going to allow you to have a better page to manage those animals and those owner details. Right now, it just kind of always keeps historical data and tries to pull it through. But the use case we really don't have well is like, hey, he doesn't own this animal anymore. You just have to make sure to not select them until the next phase comes out, which should be towards the end of this year, which will be like a management portal for that information. All right. Next, we're going to hop back out and do some more management stuff. So I will go into the webinar. Historically, in the shelter module, we have been able to add new shelters from here. That has changed a little bit. In fact, so I have this one, which obviously has a typo here. But as a general user, you can't actually do anything about that anymore, which is okay. So we're going to hop back out. And you have to be an admin to start managing these because we don't want people to start changing shelters where there's a bunch of animals. So inside here, we have the manage shelters. And now we have a new management page here, which has a bunch of actions. So I can update this shelter. And update its name. There we go. And this is now where you add new shelters. So if you were wanting to add a new one, let's not do that address. Sure, San Diego sounds fine. We'll save that there. And so now we've added the new address. Additionally, if I go back out and go back into the incident, we now have our two shelters, which is great. But inside of here, you do have the ability, you don't have the ability to add new shelters, but you still have the ability as a general user to add a new building. But once inside, you used to have the ability to edit. That functionality has been removed. So we didn't want to stop people from being able to add the rooms and buildings that they need to use. But ultimately, an admin will have to update them afterwards just to make sure that stuff isn't getting changed accidentally. You can imagine a scenario where it's the cat room and someone says, I need a dog room. They just relabel the cat room dog room, but those animals are still attached. And so we've just moved that functionality into the admin panel just to be a little bit safer. But the same rule applies for the rooms, as people in general will be able to add new rooms, which is great. But if you need to modify them afterwards, that will have to be done at the admin level. So if I hop back out again, go into manage shelters, we can go into, I don't remember which one I added to. Oops. There we go. So we have the ability to manage buildings. So inside here, we have new building, and it has a room count of 1. So here's where you would update the building. And then you can also then hop into manage rooms. Here's our cat room that we saw. You can also still add from here, very similar. But this is the only place that you'll be able to update that information. Just like that. And so all the management stuff has been pushed into this panel. So if you're ever like, man, I need to update that, this is just a reminder to make sure that that's where you end up looking. All right. So let's hop back in here. Another big thing that we have added in the new release that just came out today is inside the, I don't actually have any hotline calls. No, I have one. I'm actually going to hop out of this organization. And we'll go to our deploy map. So we've got a variety of calls here, a good healthy mix, as you can see, which is great. But we've added some additional filters. This page is getting more and more powerful as we've continued to develop it. So we still have the same two sort options, either prioritizing by follow-up date or priority. You will notice that there's some new coloring down here. We had to go through a refactor. We had some colors in random places, but now the idea is that there will always be an icon. And if that icon is red, it means you should pay attention to it. It either means that that's an urgent call, which I don't, you can see here, or that this one is currently overdue. Is the idea. So it's just a quick way throughout the UI to be able to see that information. So right now we're doing it by follow-up date. If I sort by priority, now that urgent one is right at the top, which is great. But I want to hop more into the filters themselves. So if we open filters, this page looks a lot different because we've added a lot more filters. So now we actually have two types of filters. You have one that applies to the service requests themselves. So you can select, I want, for instance, everything that was due before today to filter out anything that goes into the future. And we'll go back a couple months here. So anything between July 1st and October 15th. You can also select by priority. And as you notice back in the background, when I click urgent, you'll see that list is filtering in real time. So I want urgent, but I also want to see all the high ones. I want to know for sure that I can turn around at this property and it needs to be accessible. And then also perhaps I want to check if the verbal liability release has been checked. And there we go. So as I close that, now we know on the left-hand side, these are all the high and urgent calls that were due before today that are accessible, turnaroundable, and they've already had their verbal liability release signed. So that gives us an opportunity to really refine which ones we want to prioritize sending out into the field. And now we can zoom in, so on and so forth. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to clear this. And I'm going to show you the other half of the equation. And you can combine these is animal filters. So we used to have all these filters on here in one page, but now they're separate because they actually function a little bit different. So the first one you have is species. And this actually includes categories of species as well. So you can go horse, you can go cat, but you can also go equine. And it will actually try to find all the matches. So any of the species categories, I think the other ones like ruminants, we have avian. So we're giving you a lot more flexibility in how you're asking for data. Down here, you can also say like, I only want to see the shelter in place calls, or I only want to see the UTLs, the missings, or more likely, I want to see all the reported evac requested. So I'm just looking to refine down to that set. This one, if you've all attended the care workshop, we all kind of agreed that injured was a high priority, which may not get translated to the priority field. So now we can check for any calls that have an injured animal. Aggressive, as well as animal count is a nice one. So this actually becomes a slider where you can say, I actually want to see all, basically the big calls, like anything with 10 or more animals. And that would allow you to filter. In this case, I don't have any. So this actually allows you to kind of start asking those questions. So now I want to see all of the small-ish calls. Give me all the ones between 0 and 10. And then last, special handling required or has a medical record, which will actually help on the vet side. So here we go. So now I'm looking at all of the calls that have at least a cat or an equine or a horse or an avian. So this has both horses and an equine, but all four of them are equines. At least one of the animals is reported evac requested. It looks like all four of them. Has between 0 and 10 animals, and one of them is injured. So that's the idea here, is that we can really start to refine how we ask those questions. We're figuring out this is really useful functionality, so this will probably be available on the hotline side eventually as well to just investigate the service requests. But yeah, really powerful, and that's going to continue to get stronger and stronger. We probably will add one more thing into this species box, which will be large and small animals. As soon as everyone agrees what a large and small animal is, I can implement that. So if you guys, everyone tweet your opinion to, I think Lisa's here. She'll love that. Yeah, just make sure you send all that information to Lisa. Awesome. So that is the new filters. On the report side, I did want to review. There's a new report. It came out a little while ago, but it is a really powerful report now called the Animal Care Report. And this one gives you this is kind of really, I keep calling it the Moneymaker Report because this is really showing your value as an organization. And this one is always just whenever you load it, but it'll tell you the total number of animals that you've evacuated, that you've sheltered in place, and that you've sheltered across the entire incident on each type. This part is new, the sheltered in place, being able to calculate that we added that in recent times to allow us to kind of give that information. So we're doing a better job there, as well as the total number of vet requests that are available. So that's a really powerful report. It's not new, but I think people don't necessarily know that it's there. So I think those are all the features that I wanted to get through this evening. Let me check my list. Yeah, whirlwinded right through them. So we'll leave a little bit of time for any questions out there. I'm not sure if I saw any in the chat yet, but nothing in the chat. So first up, yeah, go ahead, Karen.
I just have a question. When we're pulling data from another incident and you have animal notes and maybe he had a infected ear or whatever in that medical area, or that kind of stuff, that's going to come over.
So yeah, so the only thing that does come over, let me go back to that one, is whatever you have on the animal itself. So like vet records and all of that have not tied in yet. And we're trying to figure out if we want to do that or not, because it's situational. But on an animal itself, if you were to come in here and if this medical notes field was populated, like injured back left leg or whatever, that will get carried forward to new incidents. So you don't want antibiotics or anything like that, but like acute or like long-term injuries, put those into the medical notes and those will automatically get imported as well. Okay, anything on this page will get imported automatically. All the visits and everything won't be connected, so you won't be able to see that as easily right now.
But it won't, somebody could look at that and think that it was current or something. That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Well, and remember that the vet med side is separate. So in general, we're not putting acute medical notes here. These are things that the owner is telling us about the animal long term. So like diabetes or like long-term injuries. If they're acutely injured during the fire, then that ends up being like a vet request and doesn't end up in the medical notes.
Okay, because we could go in and just put past incident by it if we had to, if people were getting confused.
Exactly. Or just update it. If you just remove it, it'll just go away in all future instances as well.
Okay.
If it's problematic.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I think I saw something from Lisa come through. Oh, yes. Okay, that's another good one. So another feature that we did add was previously, I'm going to have to go to my incident that actually has more stuff. So previously, you could only add service requests to active dispatch assignments, which I've got a lot here, but we've added the ability to add to pre-planned ones. So if you're pre-planning, again, if you're taking the CARES workshop, we're kind of emphasizing doing pre-work. That is now one of the options. So if we go down here, we can see DA 16, no team members assigned, and I can actually add service requests to existing DAs that are not active yet. So if you're just building a plan in the evening, you can keep adding to it.